The restaurant was almost empty that Tuesday night. Most of the rich crowd had already left, and the kitchen staff was getting tired. Only a few tables were still occupied, and the soft jazz music playing in the background felt like it was slowly falling asleep too. Rosa Delgado wiped down the counter and let out a quiet breath. Her feet were aching. She had been on shift since noon, and it was now past 10 at night. Her black uniform was tight around her waist, not because it was the wrong size, but because Rosa had curves that no uniform in this restaurant was ever designed for. She had learned long ago to stop caring what people thought about that. She was 24, soft brown eyes, dark curly hair, pinned up with a pencil she kept forgetting was there, dimples when she smiled, which was often. Her co-workers liked her because she worked hard and never complained, even when the managers gave her the worst tables. Tonight, she got the worst table again. Table 7, corner booth. The manager had whispered to her with wide, nervous eyes, "Be careful with that one. Don't say anything wrong. Don't be slow. Don't be awkward. Just be perfect." Rosa had blinked. "Okay?" "I'm serious, Rosa." She had looked over her shoulder at table 7 and seen him for the first time. The man sat alone, which was strange, because men like him never sat alone. He was wearing a dark suit that probably cost more than 3 months of Rosa's salary. His jaw was sharp, his posture was perfect, and his eyes, even from across the room, looked like they were always calculating something. He was looking at his phone, but Rosa got the feeling he already knew exactly who was in the room and where every exit was. He was handsome, very handsome, the kind of handsome that made people nervous instead of happy. Rosa straightened her apron and walked over. "Good evening," she said, her voice calm and natural. "Can I start you off with something to drink?" The man looked up from his phone. His eyes landed on her face and stayed there. He didn't look her up and down the way some men did, the rude, slow kind of look that made her want to pour water in their laps. He just looked at her face, steady, still. "Water," he said. "Still, no ice." "Of course," she smiled. "I'll give you a moment with the menu." She turned to leave. "Wait." His voice was quiet, but it stopped her completely. Not because it was loud, because it had the kind of tone that expected to be obeyed. Rosa turned back around. "Yes?" He leaned back in the booth, tilting his head slightly. His dark eyes were watching her with an expression she could not read. Then he asked the question, not rudely, not kindly, just simply, like he was asking what time it was. "If you found out the man sitting at this table was dangerous, truly dangerous, what would you do?" Rosa stood very still. The restaurant hummed softly around them. The jazz played. A fork clinked somewhere far away. She looked at him. He looked at her. She could have laughed it off. She could have said something safe and walked away quickly. Most people would have. But Rosa was tired. Her feet hurt, and something about the way he asked, like he genuinely wanted to know, made her answer honestly. "I'd bring you your water," she said, "because dangerous or not, you're a customer and I have rent to pay." A beat of silence. Then, so small she almost missed it, the corner of his mouth moved. Just barely, almost a smile. "Bring me the water," he said. She went and got it. She did not know, as she walked away, that Luca Ferrante, the most feared man in the entire city, head of the Ferrante crime family, a man that police could not touch and rivals could not beat, was watching her walk away with an expression nobody at that restaurant had ever seen on his face before. Genuine curiosity. He had tested hundreds of people with that question over the years. Bodyguards, business partners, enemies. He used it to see what someone was made of, whether they would panic, lie, flatter him, or run. Nobody had ever made him almost smile. He stayed for 2 more hours. He ordered 3 courses. He left a tip that Rosa stared at for a full 30 seconds before checking if it was real. It was real. There was also a card next to it, plain white, just a number. Rosa picked it up, turned it over, and put it in her apron pocket. She told herself she was not going to call it. She told herself that 3 more times on the drive home. She was a terrible liar. Rosa did not call the number. She kept the card in her apron pocket for 4 days, then moved it to her wallet, then moved it to the small dish on her kitchen counter where she kept loose coins and expired coupons. Every morning she looked at it. Every morning she left it there. She was not the kind of girl who called strange men, especially not strange men who sat in dark corners of restaurants and asked scary questions and wore suits that cost more than her car. But then Friday happened. Rosa came into work and found a white envelope with her name on it, sitting at the employee check-in desk. No return address. Just Rosa. Inside was a single piece of paper with 4 words typed in plain black font. You forgot your tip. And under that, a folded bill. $500. Rosa stared at it. Then she looked around the break room, like someone was going to jump out and explain this. Nobody did. Maria, from the morning shift, poked her head in, saw Rosa's face, and said, "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." "I might have," Rosa said. She tucked the envelope in her bag and went to work. Table 7 was empty all night. She kept glancing at it. She felt ridiculous for glancing at it. At the end of her shift, she sat in her car in the parking lot and stared at the card in her hand. She thought about all the reasons this was a bad idea. She made a whole mental list. It was a very good list. It had 12 points. Then she typed the number into her phone and sent one message. "This is the waitress. I did not forget the tip. You left too much." She sent it, then immediately wanted to throw her phone out the window. 3 minutes passed. Her phone buzzed. "I know. Have dinner with me Saturday." Rosa read it twice. Then she typed back, "That's not how you ask someone to dinner." His reply came in under 10 seconds. "I don't usually ask." Rosa laughed, out loud, alone in her car. She pressed her hand over her mouth because the laugh surprised her. She typed, "Then it's a good thing I'm not usual." This time, 2 minutes passed before his reply. "Saturday, 8 o'clock. I'll send a car." "I don't get in cars sent by strangers," she replied. "You don't know my name?" Rosa paused. She actually did not know his name. She had never asked. She typed, "No. What is it?" "Luca." Just one word, like one word was enough. Rosa typed, "Last name?" "You'll find out when you decide to come." She put her phone down, picked it up again, put it down again. Saturday, she told herself, was 3 days away. She had 3 days to be smart about this. She spent those 3 days being very not smart about it. She told her best friend Camille everything over the phone on Saturday afternoon, and Camille screamed so loud that Rosa had to hold the phone away from her ear. "You're going! You have to go! Rosa, mysterious rich man, a car, 8 o'clock. This is a movie." "This could also be a crime," Rosa said. "It could be both. Go anyway." Camille, "Wear the red dress." "I don't want to dress up too much." Rosa, "Red dress, earrings, lip gloss, go." Rosa wore the red dress. She took her own car. When she pulled up to the address Luca had sent, a private restaurant, no sign outside, a man in a black suit holding the door open, she sat in her car for 2 full minutes gripping the steering wheel. Luca was already inside, at a table set for 2, a candle burning between them. He stood when she walked in. That surprised her. He looked different in this light, still sharp, still serious, but there was something in his expression that was almost careful, like he was watching to see if she would bolt. She did not bolt. She sat down, placed her bag on the chair beside her, and looked across the table at him. "You came," he said. "You sounded like you didn't think I would," she said. "I wasn't sure." She raised an eyebrow. "Does that bother you, not being sure?" He looked at her with those steady, unreadable eyes. "Yes," he said. "It usually does." Rosa smiled. "Good," she said. "Now we're even. You made me nervous on Tuesday." Something shifted in his face. Not quite a smile, but close. They ordered food. They talked. And somewhere in that dinner, between the questions he asked, that felt more like quiet investigations, and the answers she gave that were more honest than she intended, Rosa realized two things. One, Luca Ferrante was not just dangerous in the way powerful men were dangerous. Two, she was already in trouble. The second dinner happened 4 days after the first, then a third, 6 days after that, then a fourth. Then Rosa stopped counting dinners and started counting the days she did not see Luca, because those were the days that felt longer. She had not told him what she looked up on the internet. She had not told him that after their first dinner, she had gone home, typed his name into her phone, and sat on her couch at midnight, reading things that should have made her delete his number permanently. Luca Ferrante, age 32, CEO of Ferrante Holdings. That was the clean version, the version the public was supposed to believe. But the other articles, the ones buried a little deeper, painted a different picture. His father had been Aldo Ferrante, a name whispered in certain parts of the city for 20 years. There were words like organized crime and alleged connections, and never charged. His father had died 3 years ago, and Luca had taken over everything, the legitimate businesses, and the other kind. Rosa had stared at her ceiling for a long time that night. She was not a naive girl. She had grown up in a part of town where you learned early that the world was not simple and people were not always what they appeared. She was not scared of hard truths, but knowing something on a screen and knowing it while sitting across a candle-lit table from a man who looked at you like you were the most interesting person in the room, those were two different things. She had kept going to dinner because she could not make herself stop. He made her laugh. That was the embarrassing truth. Luca Ferrante, who barely smiled and spoke in complete sentences without filler words and never seemed to waste a single movement, he made her laugh constantly. Not because he tried to be funny, but because he said exactly what he thought, and sometimes what he thought was absurd without him realizing it. And when Rosa called it out, his expression shifted into something almost confused that was the funniest thing she had ever seen. One night, walking out of the restaurant to her car, she had said, "You know, for someone so serious, you say surprisingly weird things sometimes." He had stopped walking. "What does that mean?" "You told the waiter that his tie was the wrong shade of blue." "Who says that?" "It was the wrong shade." He looked like he was going to cry. He recovered. Rosa had laughed and shaken her head. "You are something else, Luca Ferrante." He had looked at her, that careful, steady look, and said, very quietly, "You're the first person who said that without being afraid of me." That had stopped her laughter. She had looked at him and seen something in his face that was not the powerful, untouchable man the articles described. It was something older, something lonelier. She had wanted to ask him then, but she had not been ready for the answer. She got ready exactly 3 weeks after their first dinner, sitting in his private dining room after a meal he had apparently had cooked by a chef he personally called in from Florence, Italy. She put down her fork and looked at him. "Tell me the truth about what you do," she said. Luca set down his wine glass. The room was very quiet. "You already know," he said. "I want to hear it from you." He was still for a long moment. Then he said, "My family built its power through methods that were not always legal. That is true. I run the family now. I have tried to move certain things into the light, but my hands are not clean, Rosa. They never have been." She held his gaze. "Have you hurt people?" A pause. "I have protected people, and to do that, yes, sometimes. Do you regret it?" Another pause. Longer. "Some of it." Rosa breathed slowly. "Why are you telling me the truth? You could have given me a nicer answer." "Because," Luca said, and his voice was the most unguarded she had ever heard it, "you looked at me on that first night and said you'd bring me my water regardless of how dangerous I was. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since." Rosa stared at him. "I have never met someone who was not impressed by me, not afraid of me, and not trying to get something from me. he continued. In the same night, in the same sentence. The candle between them flickered. Rosa said, slowly, I was a little afraid. But you didn't show it. I had rent to pay. His mouth moved again. That not quite smile. You always say that. It's always true. He looked down at the table, then up at her. Do you want to leave, now that you know? The question was sincere, and under it, Rosa heard something that she recognized, because she had felt it herself many times, the quiet fear of being left. She picked up her fork. You still haven't told me what's for dessert, she said. Luca blinked. Then something happened that Rosa suspected almost never happened. Luca Ferrante smiled, a real one, wide enough to show teeth. It lasted only a second, but it was the most startling and wonderful thing Rosa had ever seen, and she felt it land somewhere deep in her chest, like a key fitting a lock. She was absolutely, completely done for. Everything was going quietly and wonderfully and terrifyingly well. Then Elena Ferrante walked into the restaurant on a Thursday evening, and Rosa's quiet little growing feelings bubble popped loudly. Rosa had heard Luca mention his mother once, briefly, the way someone mentions a storm they are trying to avoid. She had not expected to meet her. She especially had not expected to meet her by accident, while carrying a plate of pasta across the dining floor of the restaurant where she worked, wearing her tight black uniform, with a pencil in her hair. Elena Ferrante was the most elegant woman Rosa had ever seen in person. She was perhaps 60, with silver hair swept up perfectly, a dark red dress that moved like water when she walked, and the exact same eyes as her son, sharp and calculating and missing nothing. She was seated at a center table, which Rosa's co-worker Marco was supposed to be handling, but Marco had apparently panicked and whispered desperately to Rosa, "Please trade tables with me. Please, please, please. She keeps looking at me like she knows my sins." So Rosa ended up at Elena Ferrante's table, holding a bread basket. "Good evening," Rosa said, with her usual warm smile. "Can I bring you anything to start?" Elena looked up at her, slowly, completely. The look lasted about 4 seconds, which is a very long time when someone is looking at you the way Elena looked at Rosa. "You're Rosa," Elena said. It was not a question. Rosa blinked. "Yes, ma'am. My son has mentioned you." The bread basket in Rosa's hands suddenly felt very heavy. "That's nice," she said carefully. Elena's expression was unreadable in a way that was deeply familiar. She tilted her head. "Sit down." Rosa glanced around the restaurant. "I'm working." "I'll wait." Rosa looked at this woman who clearly did not accept the word no as a concept that applied to her. She set the bread basket down, pulled out the chair across from Elena, and sat. Elena studied her for another long moment. Then she said, "My son has not smiled in 3 years. I know this because I watch him very carefully. He smiled last week. His bodyguard Marco, not that one." She gestured vaguely at Rosa's co-worker. "The other Marco told me it happened after dinner with someone. I had the good sense to find out who." Rosa was very still. "You are not what I expected," Elena said. "What did you expect?" Rosa asked, keeping her voice level. "Someone calculating, someone with an angle." Elena's eyes were steady. "Women who seek out Luca usually want something from him: power, money, safety. They dress for him, speak for him, change themselves for him." "I haven't changed anything," Rosa said. "I still work here. I can see that. Is that a problem?" Elena was quiet for a moment. Then she picked up a piece of bread from the basket, which surprised Rosa because she did not seem like a woman who ate bread. "My son lives in a world," Elena said slowly, "where trust is a transaction, where people are either useful or dangerous. He learned this from his father. He learned it very young, and he never unlearned it." She looked at Rosa. "That world does not go easy on people who are simply good." Rosa understood what she was saying. She held the woman's gaze. "With respect, I haven't decided to be in his world. We've had dinners. 5 of them." Rosa said nothing. Luca counts things, Elena said, almost gently. He counts everything. I'm sure he knows exactly how many times you've laughed during those dinners too. She set down her bread. I am not warning you away from him. I am warning you that my son does not do anything simply. If he is having dinners with you, it is not simple for him. The restaurant hummed around them. Rosa felt something tighten in her chest. What are you asking me? She said quietly. Elena looked at her for a long time. I am asking if you are strong enough, she said. Not strong in the way the women in his world are strong, cold and armored. Strong the way you were on Tuesday night when you looked at my son, who frightens every person in this city, and told him you still had a job to do. Rosa blinked. How do you know about that? Elena smiled. It was small, precise, and very much like Luca's not-quite smile. I told you, I watch him very carefully. Rosa sat in that chair for another moment. Then she straightened up. I don't know yet what this is, Rosa said honestly, but I haven't lied to him once, and I haven't pretended to be anything I'm not. Elena looked at her for one more long moment. Then she nodded. Once. Good, she said. Now bring me the carbonara and a glass of red wine. Rosa stood, picked up her notepad, and walked back to the kitchen. Her hands were shaking slightly, but she was smiling. Luca found out about the meeting with his mother 2 days later. Rosa had not planned to hide it. She just had not figured out how to bring it up naturally in conversation. By the way, your extremely intimidating mother came to my restaurant and gave me what I think was either a blessing or a threat. Still not totally sure. Did not feel like an easy thing to say over pasta. But Luca found out the way Luca apparently found everything out, through a network of people who noticed things and reported back to him. He called her on a Monday evening, and his voice was different, controlled in the way that meant he was working to keep it that way. My mother came to see you, he said. She came to eat, Rosa said carefully, and then she said some things. What things? Rosa sighed and sat down on her couch. Luca, Rosa. She wasn't cruel. She was actually, Rosa searched for the right word, real. She was real with me. A silence. What did she say? She said you haven't smiled in 3 years, and apparently your bodyguard is a gossip. Another silence. Longer. I don't need my mother to manage my... She wasn't managing anything, Rosa said gently. She was checking on you, in her own terrifying way. It was actually very sweet. Sweet, Luca repeated, like the word tasted strange. Luca, she loves you, that's all. The silence after that was different, softer, like something had shifted slightly. What else did she say? He asked. She asked if I was strong enough. For what? Rosa pulled her knees up on the couch and looked at the ceiling. For you, I think. She heard him breathe. And I told her I hadn't lied to you once. A pause, which is still true. She could hear him thinking on the other end. She was learning to read his silences. This one meant he was not sure what to do with something. Rosa, he said finally, I need to tell you something. Something in his tone made her sit up straighter. Okay. There is a man. His name is Dante Ricci. He is someone who has been watching the Ferrante family for months. He knows I have been meeting with someone outside my usual circles. Luca paused. He will try to learn who you are. He may already know. The room felt different suddenly. What does that mean? Rosa asked quietly. It means I should have been more careful. It means that by spending time with you, I may have put you in a position I did not intend. His voice was very controlled, very flat. I am not telling you this to frighten you. I am telling you because I would rather you hear the truth from me. Rosa was quiet for a moment. What does this Dante person want? To weaken me. He would use anyone I care about to do it. The word care landed in the room between them like something dropped from a height. She noticed he did not take it back. Are you telling me to stop seeing you? She asked. A very long pause. I am telling you, Luca said carefully, that you have a choice. A real one, and I will not be angry if you make the smart one. Rosa looked at the white card on her kitchen counter, still there, moved out of the dish, and onto the counter at some point in the last few weeks, without her realizing she had done it. "I'm going to need a few days," she said. "Take them," he said immediately. "Take as many as you need." She ended the call. She sat in her apartment for a long time in the quiet. Then her phone buzzed. One message from Luca. "Whatever you decide, thank you. For the dinners. For answering honestly the first night. For making me remember what it feels like to laugh." Rosa read it 4 times. Then she put her phone down, pressed her palms over her eyes, and did something she had not done in a very long time. She cried. Not sad crying. The kind of crying that happens when something feels too big for your chest to hold. She took her 2 days. On the 3rd morning, she got up, made herself coffee, and called him. "I'm not going anywhere," she said, when he answered. His voice, when he responded, was the most unguarded she had ever heard it. "Okay," he said. "Just that." "Okay." But the way he said it made the word sound like a whole sentence. The trouble came on a Wednesday, which Rosa later thought was a very rude day of the week for disaster. She had just finished her afternoon shift and was walking to her car when a black SUV pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. The man inside was not Luca's driver. She knew Luca's driver, a quiet older man named Pietro, who always smelled like coffee and nodded politely. This man was someone else. "Rosa Delgado," he said. Rosa stopped walking. Her whole body went alert in the way it did when something felt wrong. "Who's asking?" "Dante Ricci would like a word." She looked at the car. She looked at the man. She looked at the street around her. People walking, cars passing, afternoon sunlight. She pulled out her phone, typed one word to Luca, and pressed send. "Help." Then she took a step back from the car. "Tell Mr. Ricci I'm busy." The man looked unimpressed. "It wasn't a request, Ms. Delgado." 2 men stepped out from the car. Rosa was not a woman who panicked. She had grown up in a complicated neighborhood. She had dealt with difficult people for her entire working life. But she was also a waitress, not a trained fighter, and these were 2 very large men, and for one genuine moment she felt real fear. Then 3 other cars turned onto the street from both ends. Luca's cars. She recognized the vehicles because she had ridden in them. She recognized Pietro stepping out of the front one. And then Luca was there. He had come himself. He stepped out of the center car in a dark coat, and he walked directly toward Dante's men, without hurrying, the way someone walks when they are completely certain the situation will resolve itself in their favor. The 2 large men looked at each other. "Leave," Luca said. One word, same quiet tone he used for everything. "Now." They left. The SUV pulled away. When they were gone, Luca turned to Rosa. He walked to her, stood in front of her, and looked at her face for a long moment, the way he always did, when he was assessing something carefully. "Are you hurt?" he said. "No," she said. Her voice was steady, which impressed even herself. "I'm fine." "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have had someone watching sooner." "Luca, I'm fine." "You are not fine," he said, and his voice cracked very slightly on the last word, which was the most alarming thing Rosa had heard from him. "You are standing on the street outside your workplace because a man used you to send me a message, and that is my fault." Rosa looked at him. His jaw was tight. His eyes were doing that sharp, calculating thing they did when he was managing something. But underneath that, she saw it clearly now. He was afraid. Not for himself. For her. She reached out and put her hand on his arm. He went very still. "Hey," she said softly. "I texted you, and you came. That's all I needed." He looked at her hand on his arm, then at her face. "This is not the life I wanted to pull you into," he said. "You didn't pull me anywhere," she said. "I walked in my red dress, in my own car, remember?" Something in his face broke open, just a little, just enough. "Come home with me tonight," he said. "Not, I just don't want you alone in your apartment while Ricci is still. I have enough rooms. Pietro will make tea. My mother will probably call 6 times and embarrass me." Rosa laughed despite everything. "Pietro makes tea. He's very good at it." She looked at him. He looked at her. The afternoon light was fading around them, and the street was almost quiet now, and Rosa thought this was probably the most ridiculous and frightening and somehow perfect moment of her entire life. "Okay," she said, "but I need to stop at home and get my things first. I'll drive you. I have my own car." "Rosa. Luca. I'm not leaving my car in this parking lot." He looked like he wanted to argue. Then he said, "Pietro will follow you." "Fine. And I will follow Pietro." "That seems like a lot of people for one parking lot." "It is," he agreed, completely serious. She shook her head. She was definitely smiling. The Ferrante house was not what Rosa expected. She had imagined something cold, marble and security cameras, and men in suits standing in corners. And there were some of those things. But there was also an enormous kitchen that smelled like garlic and rosemary, a shelf of old books in the hallway with broken spines and dog-eared pages, a fat orange cat named Bruno, who belonged apparently to nobody, but treated everyone like his personal staff. Rosa had made herself at home in the kitchen by 9 o'clock, which had apparently startled the housekeeper so much that the woman had stood in the doorway holding a dish towel and staring, while Rosa made scrambled eggs for herself, and Luca using a pan she had found in the third cabinet she checked. "You do not have to do that," Luca had said, appearing in the kitchen doorway. "I cook when I'm stressed," she said. "Do you want eggs or not?" He sat down at the kitchen table. Yes. He ate the eggs. Bruno the cat sat on the chair beside him and judged everything. Luca had told her, over dinner, what he knew about Dante Ricci. They had history, old family business, a deal that had gone wrong years ago, a grudge that had grown quietly in the dark for a long time. Dante had been gathering resources and allies and waiting for a moment to strike at Luca through something Luca valued. "He thought you were a soft target," Luca said. His voice was careful and controlled again. "A person I cared about, who had no protection. And now?" Rosa asked. Now he knows he was wrong. Something hard moved through Luca's expression. "I will deal with Dante." "Without?" Rosa paused. "Is there a way to deal with it that doesn't involve, can it be handled without anyone getting hurt?" Luca looked at her for a long moment. "You want it clean." "I want it finished," she said. "And I want you to still be someone I can look at after." His jaw tightened. Not in anger, in something else. "I will try," he said. "I can make that promise." 3 days passed at the Ferrante house. 3 strange, quiet, unexpectedly warm days. Elena called exactly 5 times, which Luca clearly found mortifying, and Rosa clearly found wonderful. Pietro made excellent tea. Bruno the cat eventually decided Rosa was acceptable and sat on her feet during breakfast. On the 4th day, Luca came to find her in the library, where she had been reading, and the expression on his face was the one she recognized now as "Something has happened." "Dante made an error," Luca said. He sat across from her. "He reached out to 2 of my associates to offer them a deal. Those associates came to me instead." He paused. "The leverage he had is gone. The men supporting him have been convinced to step away. He has nothing left." Rosa studied his face. "And Dante himself? He will be dealt with through certain channels, legal ones, before you ask." His expression flickered. "Some of what he has done is documented enough to be handed to people who are equipped to handle it." Rosa exhaled slowly. "Really? I told you I would try." She looked at him. He sat across from her in the afternoon light of the library, with his expensive coat, and his sharp jaw, and his cat, who had apparently followed him in, and was now pressed against his ankle. "Luca," she said. "Yes? Did you just cooperate with law enforcement?" A very long pause. "I handed some papers to a person who passed them along to the appropriate parties," he said carefully. Rosa started laughing. "Stop," he said. She could not stop. She pressed her hand over her mouth, and it did not help at all. "It's not. I made a practical decision." "You literally," she gasped between laughs, "you literally went to the police." "I handed papers. Luca Ferrante, terror of the city, handed papers to Rosa." "I'm proud of you," she said, and she meant it completely, and he heard it in her voice, because he stopped talking and just looked at her, and the expression on his face was something she had never seen before. Open. Just completely open. It lasted only a second. Then he looked down at Bruno and cleared his throat. "You can go back to your apartment tomorrow," he said. "It's safe now." The warmth in the room shifted slightly, just enough to notice. "Oh," Rosa said. "Okay." She looked at her book. He looked at Bruno. Neither of them moved. "You don't have to rush," Luca said, very quietly. "If you preferred to, stay. Longer." Rosa looked up. He was not looking at her. He was looking at the cat. His ears were very slightly pink. She had never seen that before either. "I might stay one more night," she said. "If Pietro is making tea again." "He will make tea," Luca said, very firmly, still not looking at her. Rosa smiled at her book. "Great," she said. 1 month later, Rosa was at table 7 again. This was different from the first time. She was not wiping tables. She was sitting at it on a Tuesday evening, the same day of the week as the beginning of everything, with a cup of tea in front of her that Pietro had made. Because Pietro was here, because a lot of things had changed. The restaurant had a new private investor. Rosa had found this out by accident, through her manager's extremely excited announcement 2 weeks ago about a silent partner who had contributed significant funds to a major renovation of the space, along with updated staff salaries and benefits. Rosa had called Luca that night. "Did you buy my restaurant?" she said. "I invested in it," he said. "Luca, it's a legitimate business with strong potential and loyal staff. It has me in it." A pause. "That is among its strongest assets, yes." She had covered her face and laughed for a very long time. The renovation was not finished yet. The restaurant was half closed, which was why tonight it was quiet. Just Rosa, at table 7, waiting. The jazz was still playing. The single candle on the table was lit. She heard the door. Luca walked in, shrugged off his coat, handed it to Pietro without looking, and sat across from her. He looked at the tea, then at her. "You're at my table," he said. "You have a table at a restaurant you co-own," she said. "That's very on-brand for you." "You work here," he pointed out. "I'm on break." He sat back. The candlelight made him look less severe, the way it always did. Like the shadows softened some of the edges he spent so much energy keeping sharp. A month. They had come a long way in a month. Dante Ricci was facing legal proceedings that would take years to untangle. Elena called Rosa directly now, which Luca claimed to find annoying and actually clearly found deeply pleasing. Bruno the cat had been to Rosa's apartment 3 times, which made absolutely no logistical sense, but was apparently non-negotiable. And Luca and Rosa had found something that fit between them, like a shape that had been waiting for both of them. Something built on honesty, and eggs cooked in the kitchen, and conversations that ran long past midnight, and the quiet, steady understanding that neither of them was simple, and both of them were trying, and that was enough. More than enough. Rosa picked up her tea. "Can I ask you something?" "Yes," he said. "That first night, the question you asked me." She looked at him. "Did you know what you wanted me to say? Did you have a right answer in mind?" Luca was quiet for a moment. He looked at the candle. "I had expected answers," he said slowly. "Fear, flattery, bravado. Those were the patterns." He paused. "I did not have a right answer because I had never heard the right answer." "And mine?" she asked. "The rent thing?" "It was honest," he said. "You were scared, and you told me anyway. You saw something potentially dangerous, and you still did your job." He looked at her. "Do you know how rare that is? In my world, people lie constantly. They show you what they think you want to see. You showed me exactly what you were." Rosa smiled slowly. "A tired waitress with bills." "A person," he said, simply. "Just a genuine, unafraid, honest person." She looked at him across the candle. "I was afraid. But you didn't let it make you small." His voice was quiet. "That is the part I had never seen." Rosa set down her tea. Her heart was very full, and her hands were completely steady. "Luca," she said. "Yes?" "That question you asked me on the first night, about what I'd do if you were dangerous." "Yes." She leaned forward slightly. "I think I have a better answer now." He tilted his head. "I would still bring you your water," she said. "But now I'd also stay, because some things are worth being scared of." The candle flickered between them. Luca Ferrante, the man who did not smile easily, who trusted no one quickly, who had learned from childhood that the world was a transaction, reached across the table and took her hand. His grip was careful, like something he did not want to drop. "Some things," he said quietly, "are worth everything." The jazz played softly. Pietro appeared at the door, looked at the two of them, and retreated immediately. And Rosa, the tired waitress with the pencil in her hair and the red dress in her closet and the rent to pay, sat at table 7, with her hand in the hand of a man who had once asked her a question that changed everything. She had answered it honestly. She would keep doing that. For as long as he kept asking,